In August 1971, a psychology professor at Stanford University recruited 24 college students for a 2-week study on prison life. He paid them $15 a day. Within 6 days, the experiment had to be shut down because the students playing guards became so psychologically brutal that the students playing prisoners began to break down. One prisoner had to be released after just 36 hours because he was screaming uncontrollably and could not stop crying. The professor later admitted he had become so absorbed in his role as prison superintendent that he lost the ability to see what was happening. He had to be told by his own girlfriend to shut it down. This is the Stanford prison experiment, and what makes it disturbing is not just what those students did. It is what it suggests about how easily behavior can change under pressure and authority. In the summer of 1971, psychology professor Philip Zimbardo wanted to study how social roles affect human behavior. His question was whether cruelty in prisons comes from the personalities of the people inside them or from the environment itself. To test this, he converted the basement of Stanford University's psychology building into a mock prison. 24 male students were selected from a pool of volunteers and randomly assigned to be guards or prisoners. Everyone knew it was a simulation. The guards were given uniforms, mirrored sunglasses to block eye contact, and batons. They were told not to physically harm prisoners, but to maintain order. The prisoners were arrested at their homes without warning by real police, taken to a station, blindfolded, and brought to the basement prison. They were stripped, given uniforms, and assigned numbers instead of names. The experiment began on August 14, 1971. Within a day, the guards began asserting control far beyond expectations. They forced prisoners to do push-ups, woke them at night for roll calls, and used humiliation to maintain authority. By day 2, the prisoners staged a revolt, barricading themselves inside their cells. The guards responded aggressively. They used fire extinguishers to break up the rebellion, stripped prisoners, removed beds, and placed the perceived leader in solitary confinement. Then, something unexpected happened. The guards selected a few prisoners who had not been active in the revolt and rewarded them with better conditions. Later, they returned them to the group. The message was simple. Some of you cooperated and were rewarded. Others did not. Trust began to break down. The prisoners turned on each other. By day 3, one prisoner began showing severe distress. He was screaming, crying, and losing control. At first, Zimbardo thought he was pretending to get out. He was not. He had to be released after 36 hours. More prisoners would be released early as the situation continued. The guards became increasingly harsh. They forced prisoners to clean toilets with their hands. They denied access to bathrooms and forced them to use buckets. They woke them in the middle of the night for long counts that served no real purpose. None of this had been specifically instructed. The guards were creating these punishments themselves. Zimbardo had taken on the role of prison superintendent and began thinking like one. When parents visited and expressed concern, he saw disruption, not distress. On day 5, a graduate student named Christina Maslach visited the prison. She was shocked by what she saw and confronted Zimbardo. She told him the experiment had gone too far. On day 6, he shut it down. It was supposed to last 2 weeks. The Stanford prison experiment became one of the most famous studies in psychology. It appeared to show that ordinary people can become cruel when placed in positions of power and control. It was used to explain behavior in prisons, the military, and other systems of authority. But the story does not end there. In 2018, recordings from the experiment resurfaced. They revealed that the guards had been given more direction than originally claimed. They were encouraged to be strict, to create a sense of fear, and to limit prisoner privileges. The behavior was not entirely spontaneous. One guard later admitted he was acting out a character inspired by a movie. He knew he was performing. This raised serious questions about the validity of the experiment. If participants were guided, then the results were not purely natural behavior. Zimbardo was aware of flaws in the study, but still published the results. The experiment went on to shape decades of psychological thinking. The Stanford prison experiment did not just reveal something about human behavior, it also revealed how easily research can be influenced by expectations and desired outcomes. Zimbardo became a well-known psychologist and public figure. He faced little consequence for the ethical issues raised by the study. The students who broke down during the experiment were paid $15 a day. In return, they experienced something far more intense than they expected. Today, the experiment is still taught around the world, often as a powerful example of how situations shape behavior. But the full story is more complicated and far less certain than it first appears.